with his head. Off with his head indeed. MrCrispin here once again, and welcome to my workshop. I've been working away recently on my part-time degree, the second year of which I finished this coming Sunday. So the last few months has been rather involved, but I found a bit of time today to come out and do some machining, as a local motorbike rebuilder requires two of these for some kind of custom frame construction. The parts are in aluminium and I'll be making them pretty much exclusively on this Deckel FP1. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so first of all, how am I going to approach this task? Three main methods have come to mind, the first of which being the simple blocking up method. So using this as a prop, you could cut your material into a piece just big enough to make one out of, and then however many pieces you want to make, you make that many blanks, whether that be 2 or 20. And then you proceed using the vise to go around all the sides, starting with the outer dimensions and then setting a stop, and working your way through the volume of blank pieces, doing one operation at a time until they all end up finished. That lends itself well to a manual milling machine with a vise, because once you've found your edges and you have a stop, you can just keep going. It's not too much resetting up. The downside of that method is it's an awful lot of refixturing and cleaning. So every time you have to turn it, you refixture it and introduce the potential for error, but also you have to stand here and clean everything every time to get the swarf out of the way. So that is a simple approach and it's worth having up your sleeve. I did think of a more complicated method that would allow for much fewer changes. I thought about taking a piece long enough to make both of them and then imagining them end to end. It will eventually be cut down here, and this section here that's not required, if you imagine that being here and here, that would lend an area with which I could hold it in the vise, and then I could mill the side face, both end faces, the other and the top, and even put the holes in all in one go before splitting it and then reversing the pieces so they're then like this, and then I set up to do one end face and machine the stock away, do the same with the other, and then that's a job done in just a few ops. Apart from the fact it isn't, and this is the reason I'm not going to do that, and that's because I have to of course cut this recess on all four sides, and although doing this method would make it quite handy for doing most of the features, I would still be left at the end with a few side faces to do, and I would then be into a fixturing game again. So on this occasion I'm not going to do that, otherwise I would. The only caveat being of course that somehow as you machine along here you have to get the cutter up and over the jaws, so maybe that would have been more complicated than it was worth. What I'm actually going to do is something semi in between. I'm going to start with a full length piece, I'm going to start with blocking up, and I will show you how it all progresses. Right, I'm just warming the machine up on this Deckel. If you leave the head in the right place and run it, the oil circulates round the inside, so I'm just letting that warm up. While it does, I'm going to talk about a couple of key points with regards to blocking up. It seems obvious to clamp it in the vise, take a cut and keep rotating it round. The problem with that approach is I don't know how square this actually is, and if I just keep going round like that I may end up with errors in the overall squareness. So what I'm going to do is use the approach of taking a rod, and this will sit in the moving jaw, and it will mean that the fixed jaw takes precedence over setting the components alignment. So arguably you don't need it for the first pass, but I'm going to take one pass, and once I've taken a pass I'm then making sure that this surface ends up setting the precedence against the fixed jaw, while the rough surface again allows the rod to take any angle out. So that is all about not knowing how square the profile is. With this method I am assuming that there's a reasonably parallel workpiece to start with, and I've given this a draw file up and it looks pretty good to me, so that's the method I'm going to go with. Were it something ridiculously untrue to begin with, such as, I don't know, this sawn block, the approach I would take here is to give this face a file up, put that against the fixed jaw, and then I would use one of these devices made for me by a friend of mine, Dave Ticehurst. I've got a big one and a small one, and it's a sort of spherical surface that means any angle in both planes is accounted for. So again, the fixed jaw is taking the precedence, with this surface being forgiven. Okay, I will now proceed to block this up. The spindle is doing 950 RPM, and I'm just taking a 0.1 depth of cut all the way across the top. Now, I did say I wasn't going to use this coolant again, and really I should go and bury it, but my neighbours haven't been on holiday for a while. Right, brother's toothbrush has made short work of that. So what I'm now going to do is go ahead and rotate it 90 degrees, and of course put the rod in behind to allow the fixed jaw to take the precedent. Quite often materials have stretches in the surface, and when you then take the surface layer off, it relaxes. The worst example is probably cold rolled mild steel. That tends to have high stretches in the surface, and for reference, cold rolled mild steel is the one that looks like that. That sort of nice flat scale you get. And were this a thin piece of cold rolled mild steel, you can take the top layer off and it sort of does a very predictable banana. And that's important at the blocking up stage, because if you were trying to remove the stress relief, you might have to have a sort of two-stage attack where you go around taking half a mil off all over, and then you go around it again to get to final size. But I'm going to take this to the surface table and just see if there's anything to write home about here. I don't think it's going to stress relieve badly. Let's find out. Alright. Okay, it's ever so slightly bananaed. You can see it's pivoting around the middle, and if an object's properly flat, it pivots at a third. But yeah, that's pivoting in the middle. Feels worse than it actually is. 3/10 of a thou, which is about 7 or 8 microns. So yeah, either the machine's not giving me a perfectly flat surface, or it has stress relieved a little. Either way, I think that will be adequate. A couple of clonks. And I'll now proceed to skim this top face. Okay, I put a cross on the two machine sides so you can keep track of them, and if I keep using the rod, I should be guaranteed a square component. What I need to focus on next though is the dimensions. I need to get 25mm both ends on both sides. I'm pretty happy that this parallel and what I'm doing will give me a parallel enough piece for the job. I think this is pretty much guaranteed to be within a couple of thou. But what I want to do is take the opportunity to show you a method you could use if you needed a higher degree of accuracy, and that is to take some measurements. So measuring from the machine side here, I've got 25.27, and here 25.27. Not much to show you on this one then, but okay, I'm going to draw on where I measured that and put 0. Draw on where I did that and put 0. Let's see if this side offers a better chance to show you. Okay, 25.3 and 25.28. So what I'm going to do this time That's still 0, but this one is plus 0.02. So when I put it in the vise, I'm still going to use the rod method. And I'll give it a clunk just to set it initially, but now what I'm going to do is just use a clock to check a couple of things. You can guess which couple of things. Okay, so let's go to the other spot. If I get a reading of plus, then I know it's going to come out parallel, but I'm actually minus. Right, third go lucky. So I'm just about a thou high, which is roughly my 20 microns. Okay, so I'll now carry on with this. Overall, that method's got me within 10 microns all round, so that's good. And as you can see, the rod was not required on the final side because I've of course established the right geometry. So I'm now going to move on to doing the end work, and in my mind I thought that at this point I would have used the side of the cutter to do the ends, but I've not actually got the clearance, so I'm going to move the machining of these two ends into the next stop, which will be in the right orientation for them anyway. So I shall return shortly, having reconfigured the machine slightly. As you can see, I have refixtured the setup, so I've turned the vise through 90 degrees and clocked it up again, and I've now got the part in it that way on. What I'm going to do from here is form the end faces and the cutouts, which look like that. Now I could bring in a stop here, so I could set up to cut the top cutout, and then I could set a stop on the end, and then keep rotating the part and keep recutting the top surface, and then flip it over and do the same. And after I'd rotated it 8 times between the two ends, I would have produced all these pieces. Now I'm not actually going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to machine the end face, set the 0 for this axis, come in the 30mm, which is the length of that shoulder, and then I'm going to work on all 4 sides as it's situated there in one clamping setup. Then I'm just going to flip the part over, do the same, and that will give me a piece with one of these on either end.
Backstage, when Nadal, Federer, Djokovic and Murray got together and he told 1 or 2 stories.
The part now looks like this, and I'm going to put the vertical head back on to finish off. So that's that, nothing really else to say on the matter. I hope you found this interesting. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.